Hello everyone, this is Sam El-Gawadi and today we will discuss an introduction to cybersecurity workshop. In this workshop we will discuss actually 5 chapters plus chapter 0, so a total of 6 chapters. The first one is an introduction, actually it's not a big chapter. Then we will have chapter 1, the need for cybersecurity. In chapter 2 we will discuss attacks, concepts and techniques. Then in chapter 3, protecting your data and privacy. After that, in chapter 4, we will protect the organization. And finally, in chapter 5, will your future be in cybersecurity? So we will discuss your future from now on. I hope you enjoy this workshop, and let's start with chapter 0 and the first introduction that we have. So yeah, I know it's funny. So when you were a child, did you ever imagine yourself as a masterful defender of the universe, recognizing a threat, protecting the innocent, seeking out the evildoers, and bringing them to justice? Did you know you can make a career out of this? As a cybersecurity guru, as a cybersecurity forensic expert, as a cybersecurity information security expert, ethical hacker, and other also roles. All of these roles can be part of your work in the exciting, ever-changing, high-demand field of cybersecurity. So, as the course title states, the focus of this course is to explore the field of cybersecurity. In this course, you will do the following. You will learn the basics of being safe online, learning about different types of malware and attacks, and how organizations are protecting themselves against these attacks. You will also explore the career options in cybersecurity. By the end of this course, you will be more aware of the importance of being safe online, the potential consequences of cyber attacks, and possible career options in cybersecurity. This chapter 1, the need for cybersecurity, we will explain what cybersecurity is and why the demand for cybersecurity professionals is growing. It explains what your online identity and data is, where it is, and why it is of interest to cyber criminals. This chapter also discusses what organizational data is and why it must be protected. It discusses who the cyber attackers are and what they want. So in this chapter we will discuss also cybersecurity professionals must also use their skills ethically. It's a very important point. Also included in this chapter is content that briefly explains cyber warfare and why nations and governments need cybersecurity professionals to help protect their citizens and infrastructure. We all know this photo. So the connected electronic information network has become an integral part of our daily lives. All types of organizations such as medical, financial, and education institutions use this network to operate effectively. They utilize the network by collecting, processing, storing, and sharing vast amount of digital information. As more digital information is gathered and shared, the protection of this information is becoming even more vital to our national security and economic stability. So cybersecurity is the ongoing effort to protect these networked systems and all of the data from unauthorized use or harm on a personal level. You need to safeguard your identity, your data, and your computing devices. At the corporate level, it is everyone's responsibility to protect the organization's reputation, data, and customers. At the state level, National security and the safety and well-being of the citizens are at stake. As more time is spent online, your identity, both online and offline, can affect your life. Your offline identity is the person who your friends and family interact with on a daily basis, at home, at school, or work. They know your personal information such as your name, age, or where you live. Your online identity is who you are in cyberspace. Your online identity is how you present yourself to others online. This online identity should only reveal a limited amount of information about you. You should take care when choosing a username or alias for your online identity. The appropriate and respectful one, it should be, of course, appropriate and respectful. Also, your alias should not include any personal information. This username should not lead strangers to think you are an easy target for cybercrimes or unwanted attention. Any information about you can be considered to be your data. This personal information can uniquely identify you as an individual. This data includes the pictures and messages that you exchange with your family and friends online. Other information such as name, social security number, date and place of birth, or mother's maiden name is known by you and used to identify you. Information such as medical, educational, financial, and employment information can also be used to identify you online. Medical records. Every time you go to the doctor's office, more information is added to your electronic health records. The prescriptions from your family doctor becomes part of these records. Your records also will include your physical health, mental health, and other personal information that may not be medically related. For example, if you had counseling as a child when there were major changes in the family, this will be somewhere in your medical records. Besides your medical history and personal information, the medical records may also include information about your family. It will, of course, include your date of birth and address. Medical devices such as fitness bands use the cloud platform to enable wireless transfer, storage, and display of clinical data like heart rates, blood pressure, and blood sugars. These devices can generate an enormous amount of clinical data that could become part of your medical records. So education records also, it's another type. And as you progress through your education, information about your grades and test scores, your attendance, courses taken, awards, and degrees rewarded, and any disciplinary reports may be in your education record. This record may also include contact information, health and immunization records, and special education records including individualized education programs if there is any. So as you see, also employment and financial records, obviously. Your financial records may include information about your income and expenditures. Tax records could also include paycheck stubs, credit card statements, your credit card rating, and other banking information. Your employment information can include your past employment and your performance. Here we talk about your data. Where is it? So all of information is about you. All of this information is about you. There are different laws that protect your privacy and data in your country. But do you know where your data is? When you are at the doctor's office, the conversation you have with the doctor is recorded in your medical chart. For billing purposes, This information may be shared with the insurance company to ensure appropriate billing and quality. Now, a part of your medical record for the visit is also at the insurance company. The store loyalty cards may be a convenient way to save money for your purchases. However, the store is compiling a profile of your purchases and using that information for its own use. The profile or the different profiles for different people. Your profile shows a buyer purchases a certain brand and flavor of toothpaste regularly. The store uses this information to target the buyer with special offers from the marketing partner by using the loyalty card. The store and the marketing partner have a profile for the purchasing behavior of a customer, which is you at that moment. So when you share your pictures online with your friends, do you know who may have a copy of the picture or all pictures? Copies of the picture are on your own devices. Your friends may have copies of those pictures. Because the pictures were posted online, they are also saved on servers located in different parts of the world. Now the pictures are no longer only found on your computing devices. Here you can think about social media, different platforms and different mobile applications. We share photos through them. Your computing devices do not just store your data. Now these devices have become the portal to your data and generate information about you. Unless you have chosen to receive paper statements for all of your accounts, you use your computing devices to access the data. If you want a digital copy of the most recent credit card statements, you use your computing devices to access the website of the credit card issuer. If you want to pay your credit card bill online, you access the website of your bank to transfer the funds using your computing devices. Besides allowing you to access your information, the computing devices can also generate information about you. With all this information about you available online, your personal data has become profitable to hackers. They want your money. If you have anything of value, the criminals want it. Your online credentials are valuable. These credentials give the thieves access to your accounts. You may think the frequent flyer miles you have earned are not valuable to cyber criminals. Think again. After approximately 10,000 American airlines and United accounts were hacked, cyber criminals booked free flights and upgrades using these stolen credentials. Even though the frequent flyer miles were returned to the customers by the airlines, this demonstrates the value of login credentials. A criminal could also take advantage of your relationships. They could access your online accounts and your reputation to trick you into wiring money to your friends or family. The criminal can send messages stating that your family or friends needs you to wire them money so they can get home from abroad after losing their wallets or so. The criminals are very imaginative when they are trying to trick you into giving them money. They do not just steal your money, they could also steal your identity and ruin your life. They want your identity too. Besides stealing your money for a short time monetary gain, the criminals want long-term profits by stealing your identity. As medical costs rise, medical identity theft is also on the rise. The identity thieves can steal your medical insurance and use your medical benefits for themselves. And these medical procedures are now in your medical records. The annual tax filing procedures may vary from country to country. However, cyber criminals see this time as an opportunity. For example, the people of the United States need to file their taxes by April 15th, of each year. In Australia, we do that by the end of June, or after the end of June, I mean, so July. So the financial year ends by June in Australia. So this is the time where we file our tax return. So many services could be affected, or if you have peak period or season, that could be used for different types of attacks, and we'll discuss that at a later stage. But for example, social engineering. So here an identity thief can file a fake tax return and collect the refund. The legitimate filers will notice when their return are rejected by tax department with a stolen identity. They can also open credit card accounts and run up debts in your name. This will cause damage to your credit rating and make it more difficult for you to obtain loans. For example, personal credentials can also lead to corporate data and government data access. This figure displays a circuit board with a head with keyhole. So we'll know more. Types of organizational data: traditional data, Internet of Things, and big data. These are the two main types. Traditional data, corporate data, includes personnel information, intellectual properties, and financial data. The personnel information includes application materials, payroll, offer letters, employee agreements, and any information used in making employment decisions. Intellectual property such as patents, trademarks, and new product plans allows a business to gain economic advantage over its competitors. This intellectual property can be considered a trade secret. Losing this information can be disastrous for the future of the company. The financial data such as income estimates or statements, balance sheet, and cash flow statements of a company gives insight into the health of the company. Internet of Things and big data. With the emergence of the Internet of Things, there is a lot more data to manage and secure. Internet of Things, or IoT, is a large network of physical objects such as sensors and equipment that extend beyond the traditional computer network. All these connections, plus the fact that we have expanded storage capacity and storage services through the cloud and virtualization, lead to the exponential growth of data. This data has created a new area of interest in technology and business called big data. With the velocity, volume, and variety of data generated by the IoT and the daily operations of business, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of this data is vital to the survival of the organization. This figure displays some details on the next slide. So here we have the Triad, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So it's called CIA Triad. So this is a guideline for information security for an organization. Confidentiality ensures the privacy of data by restricting access through authentication, encryption, and integrity. So in integrity, in general, the integrity itself assures that the information is accurate and trustworthy. Availability ensures that the information is accessible to authorized people. Then confidentiality, another term for confidentiality could be privacy. Company policies should restrict access to the information to authorized personnel and ensure that only those authorized individuals view this data. The data may be compartmentalized according to the security or sensitivity level of the information. For example, a Java program developer should not have access to the personal information of all employees. Furthermore, employees should receive training to understand the best practices in safeguarding sensitive information to protect themselves and the company from attacks. Methods to ensure confidentiality include data encryption, username ID and password, two-factor authentication, and minimizing exposure of sensitive information. Integrity here is accuracy, consistency, and trustworthiness of the data during its entire life cycle. Data must be unaltered during transit and not changed by unauthorized entities. File permissions and user access control can prevent unauthorized access. Version control can be used to prevent any accidental changes by authorized users. Backups must be available to restore any corrupted data, and checksum hashing can be used to verify integrity of the data during transfer. A checksum is used to verify the integrity of files or strings of characters after they have been transferred from one device to another across your local network or the internet. Checksums are calculated with hash functions. Some of the common checksums are MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256, SHA-512. A hash function uses a mathematical algorithm to transform the data into fixed length value that represents the data as shown here. So the hashed value is simply there for comparison. From the hashed value, the original data cannot be retrieved directly. For example, if you forgot your password cannot be recovered from the hashed value. The password must be reset. After a file is downloaded, you can verify its integrity by verifying the hash values from the source with the one you generated using any hash calculator. By comparing the hash value, you can ensure that the file has not been tampered with or corrupted during the transfer. Now we discuss availability. Maintaining equipment, performing hardware repairs, keeping operation up and running, keeping the operating system and software up to date, and creating backups ensure the availability of the network and data to the authorized users. Plans should be in place to recover quickly from natural or man-made disasters. Security equipment or software such as firewalls guard against downtime due to attacks such as DOS or denial of service attacks. So this occurs when an attacker attempts to overwhelm resources, so the service or different services are not available to the users. I hope this is clear and makes sense. So here, consequences of a security breach. To protect an organization from every possible cyber attack is not feasible. For a few reasons, the expertise necessary to set up and maintain the secure network can be expensive. Attackers will always continue to find new ways to target networks. Eventually, an advanced and targeted cyber attack will succeed. The priority will then be how quickly your security team can respond to the attack to minimize the loss of data, downtime, and revenue. By now, you know that anything posted online can live online forever. Even if you were able to erase all the copies in your possession, if your servers were hacked, the confidential personnel information could be made public. A hacker or hacking group may vandalize the company website by posting untrue information and ruin the company reputation. That took years, not year only, that years to build actually. So it's really a big loss. So if the website is down for longer periods of time, the company may appear unreliable. and possibly lose credibility. If the company website or network has been breached, this could lead to leaked confidential documents, revealed trade secrets, and stolen intellectual property. The loss of all this information may impede company growth and expansion. The monetary cost of a breach is much higher than just replacing any lost or stolen devices. Investing in existing security and strengthening the building's physical security, the company may be responsible for contacting all the affected customers about the breach and may have to be prepared for litigation. With all this turmoil, employees may choose to repairing its reputation or choose to leave the company. The company may need to focus less on growing and more on rebuilding what happened or the loss. So rebuilding again their reputation. So this figure here displays some of the consequences of a security breach: ruined reputation, vandalism, theft, revenue lost, and damaged intellectual property. Types of attacks. So attackers, different attackers could be individuals, groups who attempt to exploit vulnerability for personal or financial gain. Attackers are interested in everything from credit cards to product designs and anything with value. Amateurs, these people are sometimes called script kiddies, so they are usually attackers with little or no skill, often using existing tools or instructions found on different websites to launch attacks. Some of them are just curious, while others are trying to demonstrate their skills and cause harm. They may be using basic tools, but the result can still be devastating. Then we have hackers. This group of attackers break into computers or networks to gain access, depending on the internet of the break-in and the intent of the break-in. These attackers are classified as white, gray, or black hats. The white hat attackers break into networks or computer systems to discover weaknesses so that the security of these systems can be improved. These break-ins are done with prior permission, and any results are reported back to the owner. On the other hand, black hat attackers take advantage of any vulnerability for illegal, personal, financial, or political gain. Gray hat attackers are somewhere between white and black hat attackers. The gray hat attackers may find a vulnerability in a system. Gray hat hackers may report the vulnerability to the owners of the system if that action coincides with their agenda. Some gray hat hackers publish the facts about the vulnerability on the internet so that other attackers can exploit it. Yeah, it depends. Then, organized hackers. These hackers include organizations of cyber criminals, hacktivists, terrorists, and state-sponsored hackers. Cyber criminals are usually groups of professional criminals focused on control, power, and wealth. The criminals are highly sophisticated and organized, and they have even provide cybercrime as a service to other criminals. Hacktivists make political statements to create awareness to issues that are important to them. State-sponsored attackers gather intelligence or commit sabotage on behalf of their government. These attackers are usually highly trained and well-funded, and their attacks are focused on specific goals that are beneficial to their government. Again, we need to think about the three types, and we need to always report the security vulnerabilities are always reported to developers for them to fix before the vulnerabilities can be threatened. Some organizations give prizes or bounties to white hat hackers when they inform them of a vulnerability. Gray hat hackers, these are individuals who commit crimes and do arguably unethical things, but not for personal gain or to cause damage. An example would be someone who compromises a network without permission and then discloses the vulnerability publicly. A gray hat hacker may disclose a vulnerability to the affected organization after having compromised their network. This allows the organization to fix the problem. On the other hand, black hat hackers, these are unethical criminals who violate computer and network security for personal gain or for malicious reasons such as attacking networks. Black hat hackers exploit vulnerabilities to compromise computer and network systems. We have internal and external threats. So for the internal security threats, attacks can be originated from within an organization or from outside of the organization. As shown in the figure, an internal user such as an employee or contract partner can accidentally or intentionally mishandle confidential data, threaten the operations of internal servers or network infrastructure devices, facilitate outside attacks by connecting infected USB media into the corporate computer system, accidentally invite malware onto the network through a malicious email or website. Internal threats also have the potential to cause greater damage than external threats because internal users have direct access to the building and its infrastructure devices. Employees also have knowledge of the corporate network, its resources, and its confidential data, as well as different levels of user or administrative privileges. Second type, external security threats. So from amateurs or skilled attackers can exploit vulnerabilities in network or computing devices or use social engineering to gain access. The chart categorizes different types of cyber attackers. Outside attackers includes organized attackers such as cyber criminals, hacktivists, terrorists, and state-sponsored hackers, as we mentioned before, such as black hats, gray hats, and white hats. Amateurs. The insiders are employees, ex-employees, contract staff, and trusted partners. What is cyber warfare? So cyberspace has become another important dimension of warfare where nations can carry out conflicts without the clashes of traditional troops and machines. This allows countries with minimal military presence to be as strong as other nations in cyberspace. Cyber warfare is an internet-based conflict that involves the penetration of computer systems and networks of other nations. These attackers have the resources and expertise to launch massive internet-based attacks against other nations to cause damage or disrupt services, such as shutting down a power grid. We have different examples, so we can, for example, check what happened with the Iranian government with Stuxnet malware, and more details about that you can find online. The purpose of cyber warfare. Main purpose is to gain advantage over adversaries, whether they are nations or competitors. A nation can continuously invade other nations' infrastructure, steal defense secrets, and gather information about technology to narrow the gaps in its industries and military. Besides industrial and military espionage, cyber war can sabotage the infrastructure of other nations and cost lives in the targeted nations. For example, an attack can disrupt the power grid of a major city. Traffic would be disrupted, exchange of goods and services is halted, Patients cannot get the care needed in emergency situations. Access to the internet may also be disrupted by affecting the power grid. The attack can affect the everyday life of ordinary citizens. Furthermore, compromised sensitive data can give the attackers the ability to blackmail personnel within the government. The information may allow an attacker to pretend to be an authorized user to access sensitive information or equipment. If the government cannot defend against the cyber attacks, the citizen may lose confidence in the government's ability to protect them. Cyber warfare can destabilize a nation, disrupt commerce, and affect the citizens' faith in their government without ever physically invading the targeted nation. It's really devastating. Some conclusion for chapter 1. We explained the features and characteristics of cybersecurity. We discussed why the demand for cybersecurity professionals will only continue to increase. The content explains why your personal online identity and data is vulnerable to cyber criminals. It gives some tips on how you can protect your personal online identity and data. This chapter also discussed organizational data, what it is, where it is, and why it must be protected. It explained why the cyber attackers are and what they want. Cybersecurity professionals must have the same skills as the cyber attackers. Cybersecurity professionals must work within the bounds of the local, nation, and international law. Cybersecurity professionals must also use their skills ethically. Finally, we just briefly explain cyber warfare and why nations and governments need cybersecurity professionals to help protect their citizens and infrastructure. So I hope this chapter was informative, and see you in next chapter. Thank you for your